Welcome to the Soft Vikings, a quest for meaning, purpose, love, and loyalty. I'm John, the lost son.
I'm Eric, still the tyrant.
Yeah.
Is it possible to convert from being a tyrant to be still be in charge, but
I think, sure.
another method?
Yeah, I guess that's the tricky part, right?
Yes.
So when Buddha was a prince, he had to renounce his kingdom.
You have to.
I think that's...
You have to give it away.
No, I don't know. I think...
No, you have
it's possible.
to build up something else.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you cannot take everything with you and think you can change.
No, it's like I'm going to be a new, better person, but I'm going to do all the same things.
Yes.
It's the kind of... That's the dream.
Yeah, this I gonna go in. I gonna lose weight, but I cannot stop eating my cakes.
But I love my cakes. Yeah,
Yes, yeah, I have to have my cakes.
yeah. That's the dilemma.
Yeah,
People kind of... Yeah,
people.
that's the thing. People
can,
like the idea.
When you say
of things.
people, you include yourself.
Yeah. All humans, we
Yes.
tend to like the idea of
Not
things.
the others, the other stupid ones.
No, I'm included.
Okay,
But we tend
that's a
to
relief.
like we love the idea of things or how it's supposed to be and what we're supposed to like, for example.
Yes,
But when it comes down to it, we do what we actually like. It's maybe something else.
yeah, that's all that for Paulus, the apostle. He said that. How come I know all the good things I should do, and I know all the bad things I shouldn't do, and I continue doing the bad things and not doing the good things?
Exactly. There you go.
So that's a deep human dilemma.
Yeah, that's the fight against, I don't know, what do you call it? Nature, instinct.
Yep. Who's in charge?
Yeah, and that's why we're going to do this little bit current affairs today. And like to start that off, it's like so many people have an idea of what things are supposed to be like. Or even themselves and the world, right? And it's usually an idea of, it's not really how it is. You just by themselves, right? I have an idea, I want to be like that. I want to be such a nice person. And then you meet someone and you're not nice. Or you're like, you pro-Palestine or you pro-Israel and talk a big game and say all these things. It's like... it's very confusing to
Very
listen
confusing.
to people. Like
We have to try to take this father and son perspective on the
Sure.
conflict, if that's possible. I mean, that's our
that's the frame.
yes, and but number one is that for most of us, we don't have any skin in the game directly.
No, we're not in the. You're not getting shot at.
No.
Basically.
So you can have it's like the armchair quarterback. You can have all the opinions you want, and it doesn't
the
really
best
matter.
place to be.
Yep.
Safe, and a lot of opinions.
Yeah, I remember that when I was a kid. I was living in a 5-store building. We have the flat on the top.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lock on the main entrance door.
Yeah.
And if I was like stepping over the line, because we were a lot of kids and the big guys, they wanted, okay, yeah, go after you. Then you can run in, the door locks, and I went up to my flat, and then I could start yelling at them.
Then you're safe to throw shit.
Yeah, then I could tell them how things really works.
Now I'm tough.
But the problem was they had memory. So
Yeah, and you had to go out.
yeah.
At some point.
But my mother said that I was a tough little guy. I was willing
Especially from the 5th floor balcony.
Yeah, then I was super tough.
Super.
But I was also receiving some was on the receiving end of the beating.
Got some blowback.
Yes. So that's like number one. When you look at a situation like this, is that it's very easy to have opinions, especially when you are in the safe space, far away from the action. And it looks like the further away you are, the stronger opinions you have, or the more you need to scream. And of course, also in the modern times with the social media and everything, it's so easy to be posturous and take a pose and try to show that you are on the right side of history or that you are having the correct meanings.
Yeah, it's a click-based economy in that sense. That interest is what counts, not like a balanced opinion. That doesn't sell.
But I think also the level of analyzing this is interesting because, of course, you can go down to the micro focus and to kill people is awful and all violence is awful and everything is awful. And then you can like zoom really out and view this as a proxy war between the Western culture and
like a civilization.
It's the old war
struggle
between Christians and Muslims, actually.
Yeah,
that's still going on.
Yeah, and
if you really zoom out. Because the Israelis are not Christian, but they are the Christians' representatives in the Middle East, and we enable them.
So it's the Abrahamic civil war,
yes,
actually,
it is
going on.
Yeah, so we enabled them. Yeah, we enabled them to do the comeback, and in that sense, they are the Western intruders in the Muslim world with the Israel as a proxy. And I think many Arabs view it that way.
Sure.
And especially the jihadists. Jihadists. Yeah, they look at them as the real enemy.
Sure.
But they look at the whole West as the real enemy. And also, of course,
like
the softer guys inside Muslim, the soft Muslims are also enemies.
I guess if your stated goal is to rule the world, everybody's an enemy.
Yeah.
And many ways the same is for Christianity.
Absolutely. So they're rivals.
Any religion.
Yeah.
Because if you have the belief that you have we have the understanding of God, and this is how to be saved, for example, then you're justified to like save the world.
But we never had a skin in the game in that type of conflict directly. Well, the Vikings was in Jerusalem.
They were down there too.
Yeah, Sigurd Jorsalfar.
Many of them, they were
with the Crusaders.
They were the treasured guard.
Yeah, they were valuable assets.
Mercenaries.
Yeah.
Because they were big.
Yes.
And they knew how to fight.
Yes.
So if you had like 10 of those guys watching your ass, you were good.
Yeah, we're good.
Nobody wanted to
cover some ground, achieve something.
Of course.
And so that's one perspective, that this is like the sharp end of a long historic conflict that hasn't settled.
No.
And it's actually a minor thing, but it's like now this is like the hotspot. And then you have this disturbing issue with the Jews that we in the West don't really manage to come around. Because in a way they are Western. The Judaism and the Christianity has merged more together than the Judaism and the Islamic society.
Maybe you could even say that Judaism and Christianity is the roots of Western civilization.
I would absolutely claim that.
Yeah, but the Islamic world is less. They like went their own way.
They did, but we cannot go into the depth here. But the Judaism, you know, the Christianity is built on the Judaism. And it comes after in time, so it's like a more modern version. But it's also much more around emotions and a different way of thinking moral. Because in Judaism, you can always argue with God, which is not possible in Christianity.
No, they have a more pragmatic way of dealing with this.
Yes,
I assume.
So that's, I think that's the most important thing, and the difference in those culture, right or wrong, without putting a moral perspective on it, is that the Western culture is been much more able to conquer the material world and to create growth and economy, you know, and better material conditions for their populations. With all the innovations, the focus on the individual, the innovation of rational thinking, or like more emphasis on rational thinking, science, the development on free trade, the market as an important distributor of wealth or allocator of resources. And that's prosperous. And in an evolutionary perspective, that group has, you know, competed out other groups in many ways.
Yeah.
So it's not in a moral way, but in a materialistic way. It's a superior civilization. Somebody will argue also in a moral way, but that's harder to argue. But
That's well, yeah. It's in the eye of the beholder, right? Morals.
Always.
Like, what's moral? It's what we think
And
is
that
right.
you can see, you know, what's going on in the Middle East. That the Jews, they has always been there in some numbers. That we have to remember.
Yeah, it's called Judea, right?
Yes. So even if they, you know, were leaving after the fall of the temple in 70 after Christ, 70 BC.
Yeah, before Christ.
No. What do you call it? AC?
Anno Domini, the year of the
AD.
Lord.
Yes.
AD.
AD.
Yeah, that's also because BC is
Before Christ.
We can be used before Christ in
Yes.
English, but AD doesn't have a really English. It's Latin.
Yes.
Anno Domini.
Yes. So and the return of the Jews is like built on some native population that's been there all the time. And then you
There's
can
history.
see, okay, what's the history here? You have the Zionist movement started in Europe 1850, 1870. The same move as in the rest of Europe and the Western, where, like, you know, where you were building and strengthening up the national states. So that idea of national states, the empires was crumbling and were, you know, falling apart, and in the ruins of that, the national states emerged. And that, I guess, was also the soil for the idea of that the Jews should have a national state. And then the Zionists came along, which they, you know, synthesized that.
Yeah, they kind of, I mean, didn't they almost, the British portrayed them as terrorists for a while,
Yeah,
right?
and then they started in the 1817, Herzl and his friends, and then they were looking for the right place, had many ideas.
Yeah.
And then they start, you know, moving to Palestine area. It's because, what shall you call this spot on the map?
It has had many names.
Yes, it has Judea as a name.
Judea. It's older.
That's
So
older.
this is the dilemma. It's like, how do you measure this?
Yeah, and
It's like
that's
who has
another
the right
perspective
to some land,
that we can talk about history, and we do that, but the current situation and the way forward, then history many times are, standing and blocking.
I could, for sure,
Because-
we could. I don't think we're gonna do a deep history dive here. That's for
No,
other,
because,
other people to do.
yeah.
But it's like I remember how I thought about this when I was younger, which I found it very so hard to like figure out, and that's because you know. The Holocaust that happened, right? When the Jews were prosecuted and wiped out of Europe, mostly, and that happened even in Norway. We shipped them away.
Yeah.
So you had that like tragedy, right? For that people that they suffered, and then like. And then if you just look it from like a not very detailed view, you can always think and feel the same, that they're doing the same to others.
Yeah.
And that's why
that perspective is very valid.
That's why I think a lot of people just have such a hard time dealing with it.
Yes.
Because then it becomes this blame game, like whose innocent children is worth more kind of game.
Yeah,
it's so hard to play.
Very hard to digest. But just to land on my first point is that the Western culture and tradition has been more able to use resources for growth and for material prosperity, and of course. And that's what's also happened in Palestine, Judea, call it what you want, Israeli or the Zionists, because Jews, Israel but when they started, they called themselves the Zionists, right? So that was Jews with an idea of a Jewish state built on some basic principles. Mm-hmm. And actually a lot of those principles were like more socialists-based principles of cooperation and equality and a lot of these nice things, these theoretically nice things, hard to roll out. But
there you are on an important point about many places, and especially places like current Israel, is that without technology, modern technology, you wouldn't be able to have that many people there at all.
At all. Because
it's like a
and there is
swamp
and the
desert.
ironic thing is that it's not any natural economy for 4 million Palestinians.
No, for
because
anyone living in that.
No, but the 4 million Palestinians are fed by the world community. Not so much but the Arabs, but for the rest of us.
But this is the modern miracle. If you have some sort of land, dirt, you can just pour fertilizer, chemicals, and make food.
Yep.
And you just use energy basically to make it.
Yeah.
So
actually, you're eating from the old sources of
you basically make converting
over storage of old meat.
We are
called carbon
converting
energy.
Fossil fuels into to edible food.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the West are better at that than the other civilizations, and therefore we look superior, and we manage to have growth in a bigger scale, so that's what's also materialized in this area, that the Jews have built up something from almost nothing. Of course, they came in with maybe more resources.
Yeah, they had backing.
Sure. But they had a different perspective on life. And that's my main point, that they have a different perspective on life. They have a life they want to prosper and grow. Yeah. They want to conquer the material world and use that for the benefit of the people. And the Palestinians, or I don't know how you should group them or label them, but they have a different mindset, because if you take a starting point, 1917, right? The Balfour Agreement, where, the land was like basically equally distributed between the Jews and the Palestinians,
Yeah.
or the Arabic, we call them the Palestinians. And from there, the Jews, the Zionists, the pre-Israel state population were growing. They were like prospering, starting a growing economy, becoming richer, and having a total different life. But the Palestinians didn't do the same.
But weren't they
Because-
like nomadic almost?
Yeah, half nomadic Bedouins, and
and
also farming on a
totally
low
different
scale.
lifestyle.
Yeah, so they didn't have it.
Yeah.
And then you can say that, okay, too bad for you, because and that's called evolution in a way, because something comes in and compete you out.
Yeah.
And I think that's some of the root of the problem is actually that the Palestinians has not been able to create their own economy. And then you can add in that the conditions for doing it have been extremely difficult, because the Israel states pushed them to the margins. They took a lot of resources away from them, took land, especially land. But all the way down to today, they have never focused on, try to restart and work to create a better life or a better material life for their own population.
No, I see your point. It's hard to.
You wasn't that
with,
impressed.
with the Palestinians because they've been having
see your
such
point.
hard. They've been a pawn.
Yes.
They've been used by all the other players, basically. Right?
Yeah, that's what
So
we
they didn't
started
have a-
with.
They
It's
didn't really have a chance to prosper. They
Not
were
at all.
given a chance.
not at all.
And when they had an opportunity, that was seized by people who had other goals. They were using them.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's still going
Yeah,
on.
and
right?
then it converts. I mean, you have the bigger picture with the Arabs and using the Palestinians as some proxy.
It's like they're like
For
a
the war?
hostage,
Yeah, yeah.
basically,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a people as a hostage.
Absolutely.
That's the easiest thing to say, and
And then they nourish this injustice thought, right? That it's what
obviously,
happened
there.
is unjust. It's not fair. It's unfair.
no, I don't think it's fair. But the question
It's
is
not fair.
Why? Why are you a hostage? It's much a better question, in many ways, to ask. It's like, so you could.
But another question is
Who's closing the doors in the bank here?
Yeah.
Why are you locked in?
Yes.
That's the question.
That's the question.
Can't you get out?
Yeah.
They can get out.
And why do you stick to this justice story?
No, it's super weird because if they, why don't they all flee?
Why don't they all flee?
Why aren't they all refugees? Because we are accepting in Europe, we've been accepting millions upon millions of refugees. We could assimilate.
We could
Palestine population.
we could
yesterday.
easily.
So this is
in
the
Europe.
question. They're
Yeah.
not that many. It's 2 million or something. right?
4 if you
Four?
count the West
Four.
Bread.
Okay. So how many Syrians did? You see my point, right? So the whole thing is like the whole region could have accepted that population.
Yeah.
Egypt, Jordan, all these countries could have if they wanted to. Long
That's
time
true.
ago.
And Egypt.
Egypt, they have
And they have space also.
they have space.
A lot of land.
And a lot of this area they're fighting over is not really like great piece of real estate
No.
for anything. It's desert and
It's a lot of that
Swamp
land in the
land
whole
and-
North Africa, and it's very densely populated
yeah,
for a reason.
yeah. I'm not an expert on the like how it looks like, but my like opinion there is that Israel too is a kind of a hostage. So
Yeah,
they're
yeah, yeah, yeah,
both
yeah, yeah.
the
Both.
population there are a hostage in a bigger picture. and they're kept in place
Yes.
by external forces.
Yes. Because if without external forces, this would implode.
Yeah,
Either in a
Res-
dramatic bloodshed and the winner takes it all type of situation, or that
something would have resolved.
Yes.
So it's an artificial situation kept alive.
So you can say maybe that the conflict is good. That sounds like a crazy way to put it, but it's better to have it simmering on a low.
This is what you
controlled.
Exactly. This is what you started with. It's a kind of a proxy war,
Yes.
and since the big powers, as of today, can't have a hot kinetic war as like shooting at each other, because of nuclear weapons. So you just can't. So the only way to have a conflict, because conflict is apparently needed somehow.
And then you
needed to do it that way.
Yeah, and then we scale it up to a cultural conflict because we in the West have some certain values, and we are not as savages as the Hamas and the jihadists. So we actually also are better people. And now we can take the gloves off and really go for it. And the other guys can really say that, okay, this came out of a context. This didn't come out of the blue, and the responsibility is the Israel state and their expansion, and they kept us, as hostages for 75 years. So what in hell can you expect? Because in that environment, desperation grows, and then desperate action comes out of it, and both stories are right. But that's the big culture conflict. It's like the West dominate, and the Islamic world is the weaker part.
And this is, I don't know how much you've been looking like on social media, and people are so polarized over this, right? And the cognitive dissonance, which is so real, like it hurts people to consider the other side. You can see it physically hurts people.
Yeah.
Because like
it disturbs their whole orientation
this is like
in the
the
world.
Cognitive dissonance. There's a conflict between how you like different ideas you get, or different information. So something has to go. So you can't be like I'm pro-Israel and pro-Palestine at the same time.
Not possible.
Well, it's definitely possible.
But not in this environment.
Unless you like... Yeah, if you are engaged emotionally in one side or the other, it just doesn't work. You're going to say your side is justified and look at poor kids, and the other side will say the same. And like... they deserve everything they got because they were doing this bad thing. And then you just point out, well, that bad thing happened to the other side as well. There you go. Never ending.
No, the only way to justify is that you have to pick a start point for your story.
Yeah.
And then you have to measure up what's the most horrific action that has been done.
Yeah.
And then it's not about numbers anymore. You cannot count how many civilians are killed. It's more a way how they are killed and under which circumstances they are killed. I mean, for a person, of course, you would you would, if you should die, I think you would prefer not to suffer too much if you could have the...
Yeah.
Do you want to be raped, or do you just want to be shot? Raped first shot?
I mean, better than...
Maybe raped first.
Shot raped doesn't really
possible.
matter.
No, doesn't matter.
People do that.
Or you want to be beheaded after you're
It's
dead.
a very dark turn there. But it's a dark theme, and
No,
I guess to say something else about it, it's that if this would be resolved, maybe that would be a terrible situation. As we were talking, like, be careful what you wish for. You might get it.
Yeah, because if it's
Then
resolved,
what?
then how
what?
should these two civilizations
how should they
fight?
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like almost like a coliseum. It's like you have the it's blood sport, but it's in the coliseum.
Yeah, it's
The
controlled.
gladiators
It's
are fighting.
controlled.
It's controlled.
Yes. So you content the violence and you control it, and it's on a low level.
And I think that's
the numbers. It's low.
I think in human nature, it seems that we are so fixed on this us-them thing. We have to have us, our in-group, out-group.
Yep.
And we have to be able to hate and fight the out-group in some ways. And sports, for example, has been a very good example of how that's been
canalized into something that you can control and doesn't spill over.
Yeah,
and
you can still cheer for your team, hate the other team, fight, but it doesn't become...
It's all about scale, because from the beginning we were in small groups, and then we could have in-group, out-group fighting without destroying the world.
Yeah, you need to have the outlets. You need to blow off the steam.
Yeah, and therefore it's that's the same, because this conflict in the Middle East, it's on a handleable scale.
Yeah,
it's not nukes in play, and it's okay. A lot of people dead, but this is like small numbers. And the alternative is that the big superpowers go in direct war, and that's something.
That's where our experience ends, because we don't know what will happen.
Yes,
we've never been there, and that's the kind of the spooky thing about like modern politics, like realpolitik and stuff. It's like we are playing with something that we never resolved. That we never been on the other end of nuclear war.
No, we don't.
Nobody knows.
No.
So we're all just guessing and kind of like, let's hope that doesn't happen.
Yes.
And we're calling it the atomic peace, right?
Yes.
Which is very peaceful until it ain't.
Deterrence.
It deterrence. But
it's
so
like
of course,
everything seems okay. We don't. Okay, this guy is too big, so we.
Because when you grew up, it was much more fair about nuclear war, I guess, compared to when I grew up. And now, people aren't really worried too much. They're not talking about it too much.
That's the human thing. It's like, especially the modern thing, because we're not so educated in history anymore, and it's out of sight and out of memory. And
living under the volcano.
So it's just something it's hard to really grasp, and that's why a lot of people say we should do some nuclear testing so people can see what really is.
But how are you going to see? They're not going to see that.
No, that's true.
This is a mute.
Yeah.
Can you just
maybe
show them some old footage?
Yeah.
I don't understand that.
No,
it's a weird thing, but so you're going to make everybody see?
No. But I don't understand or I don't think it's you can do it in practice. But the idea is there that you have to move it closer to people so they really understand the danger.
Yeah, I can see that point. That like they have to make it real so people understand what's at stake.
Yes.
No, and we need the tribal thing is not going to end. And we can fight about religion. We can fight about sports teams.
Yes.
We can fight about with the neighbor about the hedge being too big or not.
Yes.
And I think we're always going to have that bickering between people. So we need the outlets. And sports is a very good solution. It's one of them.
Yes.
It's been the Olympics.
Yeah.
Was in the ancient times. They
throw in politics in sports also, and that's a bad thing in that perspective.
Yeah, because then you make it the arenas now where you could blow off steam is kind of
taken away. We don't want the Russians to participate in sport anymore because they are
we can't have this. you should let them. Then
Of
we
course,
can have
of course,
then
of
we
course.
can fight at the sports arena.
Yeah.
And these days we are in Halloween times,
Yes.
which we have adopted to Norway. So people do celebrate Halloween. And Halloween is an example of a very good day where you can blow off steam,
Yes.
because you can, or at least you could before,
Yeah.
dress up as something that you're not supposed to be.
Yes. So you can
So
play
you
out
have- it's a cheat
the other
day.
side of yourself, or other forces can come in play.
Yeah, it's a cheat day.
Yes.
So what this Asle Toje
Yes.
was referring to, that society
Asle Toje
needs,
is a Norwegian public intellectual.
yeah, that you need some couple of events a year that the population can blow off steam,
Yes.
do and say the
The wrong things.
unsayable,
Yes.
undoable.
Yes.
So if you eliminate those days,
There's
people
no-
build up.
Yeah, the pressure is just building
It's
up.
like, I
There's no-
need to dress as a slutty Catwoman.
Yes.
And if you can never do that,
Yes.
or you need to dress up as a Viking or a soldier or whatever stupid thing you do, dress up as on Halloween. And the same with sports. We need those things to be silly, be stupid. And I think that's why social media as it is so oppressing, because then you can't do those things. You
And
can't say the stupid thing. Is it going to punish you the rest of the year?
Yeah, and it
Real life.
it contains things, and the pressure just
And this is then you are ignoring the human thing, that the pressure will build.
and it will, then the explosion will be much harder.
It would
and
be super messy.
Yes.
So we need an outlet.
Yes.
And I think this is what we're getting at there, is that kind of how horrific it is, and it's really horrific that people suffer and die. But the conflict in the Middle East is kind of the least worst scenario of this civilization fighting.
Maybe a modern Colosseum.
Yeah,
a
I
big
think
scale.
I think that yeah, it's horrible. It's of course perverse. It's all the negative things. But what's the alternative, right? That's nations at war, and Israel has nukes, so we already crossed that line.
Yep.
And of course, people are super
Arabs-
scared of
the Arabs-
Iran getting nukes.
Yeah, the Arabs don't have it.
The
But if-
Saudis could buy tomorrow.
yeah,
from
from
the-
Pakistan, they
yeah.
say.
Of course. It's for
The
sale.
negotiations are there.
That's what I heard. I haven't been at that
No, that's a
negotiation,
rumor.
but that's the rumor.
Yeah, that,
But
of,
Pakistan
of
has
course,
nukes.
everything is, if you are not able to police it, everything is up to grab. If you have, either you can steal it or you can buy it.
Yeah, this is old tech,
Yes.
basically. But
It's
used
from
it. Modern stuff.
1945.
Yeah. So we're like, yeah, many people can get nukes, unfortunately.
Yes.
So what? That's a good thought experiment. What would happen if Gaza had nukes?
But then you couldn't contain them this way. Then
No,
you had
exactly.
to
It
treat
would be
them
something
with
else.
respect and
So this
and
is the
negotiating.
modern dilemma of the atomic. Are you an atomic power or not? And
I mean, you see, the Islamic State, the Pakistan
Pakistan.
have it. Yes,
India is not, but they have it.
they have it.
And then they made a club right at that point and said
Yes.
that nobody else can be a member.
And then
That
the
was the club.
Israelis was sneaking in the
It's a
back door.
Great club.
Yes,
And then you have some people are like, yeah, I know you other guys. Come on, let me in. And they're like, yeah, well, you're not a member, but you can join the party,
Yes.
kind of thing, at the club,
yes.
like a guest member. That's a couple of nations.
But that shows the Western's hypocrisy, or what you should say, because we have the upper hand in this conflict, because Israel
So you could probably
have the access to the nukes.
you could basically arm all NATO countries with nukes
Yes.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because England, France has it,
Yes.
Germany doesn't.
No, for a good reason. We don't trust those guys.
They're like, you've been naughty. You can't be in the club no more.
No. We're still punishing you.
It's still your bill. He didn't pay you bill at the bar.
No, the problem that we need them, you know.
Yeah, it's weird because they are a part of NATO, but and you have Mannheim. It's like the military base, the American.
Yes,
I think is one of the biggest. It's in Germany, of course. So technically, they're occupied.
still.
Yeah, technically. If you have foreign troops on your soil, what in any other context, what would you call that, right? That's occupation. Why are you allowing other foreign soldiers to be on your soil? In any time in history, if you had like people from the other tribe armed staying in your house, what would you call that?
Occupation.
And they're not leaving.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in Norway, we call them exercises. And there's at any time there's at least a couple of hundred Marines in Norway. Anytime exercising.
But it's you know, I think it's very formal view if you call it an occupation.
Yeah, technically.
Yeah.
Maybe not the population feel like it.
Doesn't really give you anything to.
But we didn't have any choice. I mean, it's always been like that for me since I was born. So it's just how it is, right?
But back to the proxy conflict. So let's see, it's two civilization, and the most dark view on it, or not dark view, but cold, maybe ice cold view, is that it's better that it goes on there than it scales up and becomes a world war between the superpowers.
It's hard to argue against if you put world war, global atomic conflict on the other side.
Yes,
anything is better.
Yes,
it's like it's nothing else.
And that's it's easy for us that are.
But then we have skin in the game.
Yeah. Then we have skin.
There we go.
Yeah.
So we said, yeah, that's terrible.
Yes. So in a way, we have skin in the game because the alternative is to escalate it to a world war, and we don't atomic war, and that we don't want.
And it was the same with the now forgotten Ukraine-Russia conflict.
Yes,
which is almost gone from people's
That's gone.
minds.
Yeah.
This is the curious thing about media, right?
Yes.
How people are hyped.
COVID is gone.
COVID is gone.
And,
raging as never before. The same with the Russia-Ukraine conflict.
Yes, worse than ever.
Worse than ever. Nobody cares.
No.
So how much did you care in the beginning? Not really.
Not really.
It's
but
a lot of hype.
But the COVID, why that really, got all this attention, because everybody felt it was close to home.
That was close to home. You had skin in the game when you couldn't leave your house.
Yeah, of course.
That kind of definition of
yes, and it was easier to be fear mongering because you felt.
Yeah, it's kind of. Those two things are almost the same. Disease and radioactive,
and you can say the
getting killed by something you can't see.
Disaster with the COVID, the way they handle it is it has numbed people, right?
You can talk about
so we're
side effect of
so we're okay, this disaster, okay, that disaster, and you need to turn up the volume on the disasters to even get some attention.
But this is the thing, we get desensitized to these horrible things. So if you have living in an emergency a week, you have to ratchet up to 12 to get the response the next time. It's like drugs, you become tolerant.
Yeah, you have
to this bad
higher
news
and higher dose.
And then kind of also you're like, okay, so I've been given bad news for, let's say, 3 years straight with COVID and Ukraine and others. It's like, so tomorrow is always gonna end. And if you add the climate crisis, you can add a 5 years on that. So say you've been giving, the end of the world is nigh for 10 years straight.
Yes.
At some point you're gonna sit down and well, sir.
I'm still around.
Still around. This is weird because you've been saying that this shit show is gonna end tomorrow, and it hasn't. So and I think the result I can sense in myself at least, and that's at some point you just turn off your television. turn off the
Yeah,
internet and
that's
say,
a
well,
wise things to do.
that's just
Yeah, I'm
noise.
fed up. Noise. And we always are 1 second from distinction, or what shall I say, 1 second from the tragedy.
Yeah,
because we never know what's happening in the next second.
No, and you're
can always,
immortal.
Immortal.
Everybody's
you
immortal.
can always predict that this is it. This is the end of the world.
And you might be right. That's the thing. You might be right.
Of course, you might be right.
Because if you look at the really long term,
yes,
the probability that will never happen is very small.
It will happen.
Yeah,
and then it can happen tomorrow.
Yeah,
because we don't know the timing of it.
I mean, we're one big solar flare.
Yeah, but the alternative, because then you're back to how to live, and not how to die. Because of course you would die, and to choose the way to die is very. That's also maybe one of the big differences in this conflict is that at least jihadists they want to die for the right cause, so they want to choose the way to die. But on the Israeli side, they were more focused on how to live.
Yeah, this is to take the parallel to the Vikings. That's why also the Vikings were such great warriors and feared. Because they were doing it for the next one.
Yes.
And that's why also the Christian church recognized that holy warriors are worth 100 normal warriors. The weak mercenaries, they just run away.
Yeah, and try to grab as much of
Yeah, they're just like, if they feel like, now it's shifting.
Yes, okay.
How much are you paying? It's like, it's over.
Yes.
But these holy guys, oh my God, they'll stand.
Yeah.
Never surrender.
To the last
And
man.
it's, that's why the religion have realized you need holy warriors, because if the other side come with 100 of those guys,
you're done.
You need what, 10,000?
Yeah, you're done. Motivation is everything,
and that's why Vikings also were so. They had like a warrior religion.
Yeah,
it's about
afterlife story.
And of course, if you have that fight with people who like, I love my car and my cat and my big fat purse.
Yes.
And you're fighting against someone who says,
I don't care.
These things doesn't matter.
No.
It's just how I die.
Yes.
That counts. You have a very difficult conflict.
Yeah, and that's the East against, or not the East, that's the Western culture, because if you don't have any strong beliefs anymore, you become that's one perspective, right? The conservative perspective. Then you become weaker, and you can say the West is becoming weaker from the inside. Because
you can call it weakness.
Yeah, because we don't have a religion, we don't have holy warriors, we don't really not knowing what we're fighting for anymore.
Or it's valuing life more.
Yeah, valuing
because
life more.
Because if you're wrong, kind of silly.
Yes.
If there's no afterlife.
And hopefully everybody would do that. So that is the positive takes, that everybody at, history will move forward. It will be progress, and even the jihadists will, put down their weapons and accept that maybe life here and now is better than this idea of reaching the heaven on the right vehicle, meaning killing people. Or standing for your belief.
It's in my lifetime, religion has been minimalized and reduced to like a comedy show kind of. It's not very serious in Norway, for example, and like. I always, when I was like younger and growing up, I was always listening to this, the great atheist critiques, right?
Yeah.
They had a point, many good points, right? And you could refer to any religion as a big con game, because you're selling the greatest thing on earth that and you have no complaining customers because the ticket in is one way. It's
Yep.
death. And since they don't come back, nobody can kind of call your or confirm.
No.
Neither deny or confirm, right? So you have the biggest game going. You're selling something that never goes out of style and it can't be disproven.
And you can also say...
Let me finish.
Yeah.
But the issue is that confidence is probably something we desperately need. We need confidence in any institution.
Yeah.
And if you lose we believe everything is a con. We're going to get fooled so much that we don't have confidence no more.
And then it's...
We need to believe.
Nihilism is the next step.
And that's an ugly place to be as well.
For everybody.
Yeah, I don't think they've been successfully done any.
No, and that's the also, you know, you can state it this way, that the West with its irrational forces, with the emphasis on technology of conquering the material world, and are able to do that, and also with their market institutions and the growth and the expanding economy and all these things. But there's still, the Christianity is still under there. It's still, even if people have stopped practicing and they call themselves atheists and something, it's a deeply emerged Christian culture.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes generations to go away from that. So what we're seeing now is that this religious need, most of the ideas is Christian,
Yeah.
but they got another form, and there is no ritual, no nothing in it. So it's like more crazy, and that you can see that you have these woke discussions where, and all these things where people like throw in so many beliefs.
Yeah.
So it becomes more religious, with religious features, but without God, without Jesus, without a clear morality, without any corrections, and without any institutions.
Do you feel the need to go to church? Really? I don't know.
No.
I don't know if we can. I don't think we can go back here.
No, not
That's
possible.
impossible.
Not possible.
We have to do something different.
Yeah, but I feel I think you have one guy, Ian McGilchrist. I don't know if you read him.
No, I don't think so.
The Master and the Emissary.
Yeah.
The Matter of Things.
Okay.
And he has a saying which is, I think, is capturing a lot of the human condition. And humans are social beings.
Yeah.
Or we are relational beings. We have to be in relationships.
Sure.
And socially, relationships means other humans, right?
Yeah.
So we have to be connected in some sort of relations to other humans.
Mm-hmm.
But we also have to have a relation to the nature as such, even or as a group or as individuals.
Okay. So separating humans from the environment, kind of.
Yeah, we need that. So if we are, if we are taken out of nature, we will suffer.
Mm-hmm.
Because we need that active relation. And the third, we need a relation to what we don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a very hard thing to find out for each individual. And that's where you come in with the religions, because then you have...
The unknowns.
Yeah, then you have a place to place it, right? A way to handle what you don't know. And the rationalists are missing this point, because there is no point, because in the rationalist or the determinist or whatever, it's just only a question only time issue where we know everything.
Yeah,
And then it's not
Sure.
any reason to have a relation to what you don't know because we know everything.
yeah,
Or we have a method called the scientific method that at the end of the day, this method will, reveal all secrets. But
Yeah.
what shall you do in the meantime?
That's a good question. And I think what gets lost there is that people who dwell or talk about and think about and write books and about such things, they're doing that because they were able to and they want to.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But most people don't really want to think about those things.
No,
They
it's
don't
painful.
they don't want to write a book about what's the purpose of life and meaning. It's like
No. Give me a burger.
give me a burger. Let me live my life, which is fair. Right?
Perfectly fair.
Yeah, and I think that's also gets lost. That like people just
But
tend to want
that
to live their
circles
life.
back to one main point here is that we're different.
Yeah.
And it's different roles in a society. Always. It was it in a tribe. And you have one role called leaders or leadership. We can like it or not. We in the democracies, we like
We love it.
we love it, but
Still.
because we want to elect them and
We outsource all these things.
yeah. You take care of this, and in many ways you can see what we have now around is a leadership crisis,
Sure.
especially in the West.
Sure. So when you're gonna outsource all these things, we need capable people.
Yeah, and in a way we have come to a place where I don't know if that's right to say it, but it's a long time since we saw some great leaders coming up. And that's also one of the big short-term issues in this, crazy conflict in the Middle East. The leadership on both sides, you cannot sit down on a negotiating situation with Hamas and Netanyahu. Can't happen.
Sure. I've been listening to a lot of these people talking different sides, and I think what stuck with me is that any peace negotiation has to start with a lie.
Yeah.
Kind of have to say, yeah, those other guys, they're okay. We'll work this out, which obviously is a lie.
I would say the completely opposite.
No, but you gotta start with an assumption that is now not true, right?
No,
we are at war.
No, I would say the completely opposite.
Yeah.
Every negotiation has to start with the real truth. And the real truth is there is no justice.
Sure. But
because at the minute you say that I want justice,
sure.
then negotiations are not possible. Because in a negotiation, there is no justice. It's just to find
but if that's what
a common ground.
But there we go. Then you have to lie, because then you have to say to people, I know you want your justice. But
no, I would say the opposite again. You have to really realize the nature or the law of power. Then it's you cannot. Justice is an idea. It doesn't play out in reality. And if you stick to justice and you say, okay, Palestinians, this is unjust, we need justice, and what is justice is blah, 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 then you never show up at the negotiating table. Because justice is not on the table, it's not on the menu, it's to find a compromise.
Sure.
And to find a compromise, which is reality, then you have to let go of this idea of justice. Because you can never come back to your people with a bad deal if you have promised them justice.
Oh, well, that's how you frame justice. You can call anything justice.
Yeah,
this is the thing.
This is the thing.
Words.
But historical justice.
Well, exactly. What does that even mean?
And then maybe we should end this then on a Stoic position.
Sure.
Because the Stoic position is that you have to accept the world as it presents itself right now. And that's the only point you can work out from. That means history, it's actually not interesting at all when it comes to your options right now. The only thing history can do for you is to educate you. But you have to see fresh on the existing situation and accept reality as it is, because reality is stronger than you anyway.
Yeah, you could say so.
And
it's hard to fight the other way. And
but
some delusion is required.
Yeah, it is.
To achieve anything, right?
Yeah,
we'll talk about that more next time.
Yeah. Sex and drugs. It's good.
Like how to make a company. You kind of have to have some delusions going. In a way.
A lot.
And ignore reality.
Yeah. Reality sucks.
Reality sucks. But be aware reality. It's a dangerous thing.
Yeah. And it takes you when you're not, when you don't want them.
Takes you when you sleep.
Takes you 4:30, 3:30 in the morning. They always show up in early morning.
That's when reality wakes you up.
Yeah. Wow. And I get scared.
Wow. Okay, my friend. We'll see you next time.
Okay.
Thank you for listening, everybody. Bye-bye.